got your Raiders covered.
Knock on wood if you're with me.
It's Silver and Black Today on CBS Sports Radio 1140. And now, here's your host, Scott Gulbransen.
Good morning, Raider Nation. Coming to you live from the capital of Raider Nation, Las Vegas, Nevada, the center of the Silver and Black universe. This is Silver and Black Today. I am your host, Scott Gulbransen. A reminder, today's show is streaming live on the radio.com app and on our YouTube channel. Make sure to go subscribe. And don't forget, if you subscribe, hit notifications so you always know when we're live or drop a new video. So do that for me. And before we get back to the jam-packed show, because we do have a lot of Raiders football talk today, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the unrest, the turmoil happening in our country today. So excuse the soapbox for a minute. If you don't like it, tune out. I really don't care at this point. I don't know what to tell you, but I just have to say that the events of the murder of George Floyd are both troubling and make me angry. They make me angry not only over the senseless violence and the destruction of property, but mostly because they happen because of the needless killing of George Floyd. Our nation has many problems, folks, and racism is still one of them. I don't see it every day. I'm not a black man or woman or child in America, but I'm also not blind. And most of all, I'm angry because of those of the in power and who abuse it and take the life of a man in the most horrific way possible. A man who pleaded for his life. And no, I don't condone looting. I don't condone burning of businesses, many of them black-owned and minority businesses. Peaceful and focused protests are what this country's all about. A part of our nation feels under siege, hunted, ignored. How true that is depends, I guess, on where you come from. And perhaps you don't believe it. I don't know what to tell you, but it's true. Listen, talk to others. Get outside your bubble, all right? Find out more of what's happening in the world. You're either part of the solution or you're part of the problem. Pretty simple in my view. And this is a game of life and death, and there are no sidelines to sit on, folks. At the top of the stairs in my house, right outside the bedroom of my young sons, hangs a framed picture with a quote from Martin Luther King Jr., and it says, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moment of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." Today, this week, the past 12 weeks, with this pandemic, we've been hammered with times of challenge and now controversy. It's not a political contest. It's a life and death affair. All human life is precious, from the unborn to the black man systematically killed with a knee stuck in his neck. What kind of society do we live in where we don't recognize the problems that stare us in the face? Yes, there are agent provocateurs jumping in. They're taking advantage of this. They are not there for the right reasons. People who don't care the man was murdered by people who were there to protect and serve. They just want chaos. They too are the enemy of progress and civil rights. It's time to speak up, folks, and be part of the solution. And you know what? It doesn't take a lot. It really doesn't. You know what you got to do? Little ways every day. Change hearts. Start with your own and stand up. If you don't, we're doomed. It's a problem. But we have big problems. Let's stop arguing about it. It's not left. It's not right. It's people. Let's figure it out. And instead, let's do something about it. So if you don't like the soapbox, I don't know what to tell you, but I'm sorry. You're a human being first. And we love our country, and we all need to tackle the problems that remain there. So if you don't like it and you're mad that I talked about it, then tune out. I really don't care. Okay, now back to Raiders football. Joining me today are my co-hosts, Mr. Chaz Osborne, and our special co-host, your boy Q, all the way from the Lone Star State. Guys, how you feeling this morning?
Man, doing great.
You're like Chaz, like, you just ranted about what the hell's going on in this world and how the country's burning. But hey, yeah.
Am I feeling that? I'm not sure what I'm feeling. I'll tell you, we do need more leaders like Martin Luther King. I can tell you that.
Oh, absolutely. How you doing, Q? How's Central Texas this morning?
Central Texas is going. It's been tough times, like you just mentioned, and we all need to just kind of find a way to band together and come together. And it's not as easy as that, I get, but man, we got to find a way to do better. But glad to be back with you guys for another week. Yeah, and you know what, Q? It's the thing that I love about sports is it usually brings people together, and there's no more diverse group of fans forever. I mean, the Raider fans are the most diverse group I've ever seen. Right, from every walk of life. Every color, every creed, it doesn't matter. And so it can start with us. I've seen, unfortunately, some
some infighting there too. And again, this is not a political argument. This is a human argument. This is a civil rights argument. And you know what? Let's come together. Let's be the solution. And you can start that every day by your own actions and how you feel inside yourself. So let's start there, okay? That's how you can do your part. Make sure you do that. All right, so guys, listen, coming up, this segment, we're going to hear from Raiders running back Jalen Richard. And after the first break, our senior NFL analyst Moe Moton from silverandblacktoday.com joins us to talk about undrafted free agents. And guys, I was lucky enough to do a little bit of a crossover interview with our own Evan Grote on the Just Pod Baby podcast, and with Jalen Richard. And when you look at that guy and what he's been able to do, and the fact that he's been able to stick with the Raiders, right, through 2 head coaches, 2 general managers. And so what I did was I asked him, first question, oh, by the way, if you want to hear the entire interview, you can go subscribe to the Just Pod Baby podcast where you can get it. Also, we will post the longer form interview, which is even longer than the Just Pod Baby, later in the week on our channel as well. So if you subscribe to our podcast feed, you'll be able to get it there. But I asked Jalen, I said, hey, listen, you've survived this, and you've been able to have longevity with the Raiders. And here's what he told me. What has it been about your ability to kind of persevere through a lot of these changes as being part of this Raiders team?
Instead of the changes happening around me, I just mainly focused on the changes that I could create for myself with my game. I really just focused on every year, like a big part of my game is just self-evaluation. Like after every year, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? Where can I improve in my game? Where did I see my game maybe take a step back or you know, just self-reevaluate every year. And every year I feel like I've gotten better in my game. I've gotten smarter. I've really, you know, molded myself into the role that I play, which is third down right now for the Raiders. You know, where you see most of me, where I get most of my action. I think I molded myself into a great third down back in this league. So, you know, it was just all about playing football. I understood what I could control, and that's my game. I can't control the staff around me, and you know, we have other people that, you know, hire those guys. All I have to worry about is just playing ball, and you know, everything else is gonna be taken care of. So that's what I focus on.
Well, there you go, Jalen Richard. And Q, I mean, you listen to what he said about that, and I think that's why he's been able to stick with his team, is he's adapted to however they've needed him. He's been able to do that.
Yeah, he really has. And the thing about Jalen Richard that I really, really respect is the fact that this guy came into the team on a 3-day So he's really carved out a niche for himself, and I think just through hard work and continuing, like he said, to try to get better each and every year. His biggest bugaboo for me was ball security at a certain point, but I think he's even worked a lot on that to improve that. And once you're able to do that, you're a really good blocker. You can carve out a niche in the NFL.
Yeah, no question. And I think that he's been able to do that. And he also recognizes how things are changing as well, and what that means for his role. And that's one of the things we wanted to ask him as well when we talked to him, was the fact that, hey, listen, you are on a team now that has bolstered its offensive weapons. It has added running backs. Of course, you had Devontae Booker, who we talked to on this show last week. You also have Lynn Bowden, who's part of the mix there as well. And we asked Jalen, though, how did he feel about getting all of these new weapons and the fact that they now have more opportunity and that his role may be changing again? And here's what he said. Ability for Coach Gruden and Derek Carr to stretch the field out more is going to mean more opportunity for you in the passing game as well. How excited are you about what happened this offseason with this team on offense?
I'm very excited because to me, it looks like another year where we see, like last year, that our rookies come in and just make leaps and make bounds. And then I'm excited for this year because I'm excited to see the rookies from last year make that second year leap and that second year bound, because, you know, again, it's always self-improvement. That's how you last in this league. That's how you that's how, if you really just love football, that's how you play. I mean, you know, we go out there to compete. I don't want to lose. If I lost one year because of something I did, I'm going to fix it and figure it out next year. So that next year comes out of that rep, because it's exactly that. Like, guys gonna make those leaps and those bounds, and I'm just excited that we get to go, and I got some like new stuff. Might have a new jacuzzi, you know what I mean? Like, well, I'm talking about the facilities and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
On my personal, just little being greedy, but you know, at high school I didn't really have the greatest facilities. Southern Miss, I didn't really have the greatest facilities. Raiders, we got a good weight room, but then I'm hearing from everybody else coming from other teams that, you know, the Raiders is towards the bottom of the league when it comes to facilities and stuff. And I'm tired of playing on that dirt. So I'm excited just to be in Vegas with some new stuff and just have fun.
Well, there you go. And Q, I mean, again, if you want to hear the whole interview with Jalen, by the way, make sure you check out the Just Pod Baby podcast. Go subscribe. Evan Grote, we did a crossover interview together with him. And Q, I mean, you got to like that, man. And that's the thing, too. When you look at this offense and you look at the running back situation, he's got his skill set. He's got his opportunity to help out. Add in Josh Jacobs. Add in the dynamic nature of Lynn Bowden, of course. And then, of course, you have Alec Ingold with the fullback position. You have a lot of things going on there. And topping it off, you have all the weapons you've now added on the outside and in slot and all this stuff. Q, this offense, I mean, I don't think there's any, you can't look at it and say there's any real excuse that they can have today if they don't perform up to ability this year, excuse me.
No, there shouldn't be any kind of excuse this year because, like you said, all the bases are covered, you know, and the conversation that's had every single year with Raider fans is, what is Derek Carr doing with the weapons? Can he take that to the next level? Well, the weapons are there. You know, it's for John Gruden, Derek Carr, everybody to take advantage. Josh Jacobs, we saw what he did his rookie year. You know, he's only going to get better, in my opinion, and he's going to be able to take a little bit of pressure off him because of Bowden Jr., because of Jalen Richard. And one thing about Jalen is he knows his role, and he's not going to sulk about it. I'm sure he wants to be out there and be the lead dog all the time, but he understands that that's not his role, but he does excel at whatever his role is. Whatever they expect him to do, he says, I'm going to be the best me that I can be. And that's all you can ask for from a teammate. So the weapons are there. They just got to go execute it on the field.
No doubt about it, Q. And I think you look at the situation too. There's the Raiders have addressed so many needs, but there's still things to address out there. And Q, I know this week too, I wanted to turn to you on this. There's been a lot of chatter again too around Jamal Adams and what's going on there. What are you hearing, and what would you think? What would it take for Jamal Adams to become a member of the Raiders, and is it a good idea?
Well, you know, it's funny. I threw this out on the podcast about a week ago when all the conversation of Jamal Adams started coming up, because what I'm hearing that they want is a first and a third for him. And I think that that's very rich. You know, giving up all that kind of draft capital plus having to make him the highest paid safety in the league is asking a lot. But at the same time, I look at what the Raiders have done the past 2 seasons throughout the draft and say, well, how many holes do they have left, and how dynamic could this guy be?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's what excites me. And one part of me says, yes, it's very much worth it. Go for it. Roll the dice. And then the other says, boy, that's a lot of capital to give up. And you could be hamstringing yourself. So it's one of those. I've been wrestling with myself for about a week on what I really would like to see the team do. But man, it sure is fun to think about.
No, it's fun to think about. But I think too, you have to look, and Chaz, you have to look at the fact that the Raiders so far with John Gruden and with Mike Mayock have been very reluctant to part with that. I mean, yes, they've made little swaps here and there, the big trade with Khalil Mack, but if you look at what they've done, they've really valued building from within and building with strategic free agent signings, and then going out and getting guys. So I don't know, and I think that price is very, very high. I love the player. But at the same time, it doesn't look like the Raiders are into making those big splash moves necessarily.
Yeah, no, I'm with you guys. I'd love to have a proven stud back there. I know last year I was freaking wanting the Raiders to go after Minkah Fitzpatrick, and then, you know, Jalen Ramsey popped up right after that. But I wasn't as keen on that one, kind of for the same reasons that I'd be hesitant on Jamal Adams. Just, you know, that trade price is pretty steep. And the one thing I know all teams have their eye on is the salary cap possibly going down next year. So from a front office perspective, you know, I'm sure most teams would probably pump the brakes on that deal this year, just knowing that the future is kind of uncertain.
Yeah. No, that's true. And to me though, again, I think Q, you got to always look at ways to get your team better. So I appreciate that, man. Okay, we're gonna step aside for our first break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about undrafted free agents. That's right. Undrafted free agents. A lot of you, I've been seeing a lot of people out there who don't think they're as important and you shouldn't talk about them. Well, our own senior NFL columnist, Moe Moton, is going to join us. He wrote a great piece on former UNLV Rebel, now Raider linebacker Javin White. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about the importance of undrafted free agents in the NFL. You're listening to the Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio.
CBS Sports Radio. The only way to take Silver and Black today with you is with a radio.com app. Download it today and search CBS Sports Radio 1140 in Las Vegas and listen to us anytime. Only way to take Silver and Black Today with you is with a radio.
All right, welcome back to the Silver and Black Today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. Hope you're doing well this morning and that you're staying safe wherever you may be. And we're going to get into now, we want to talk a little bit about the fact that undrafted free agents in the NFL. I'm shocked at how many people don't realize how important undrafted free agents are. And the reason I'm talking about this was this week on silverandblacktoday.com. By the way, check out the website that started it all here, silverandblacktoday.com. It's the only independent Raiders news source based right here in Las Vegas. Again, silverandblacktoday.com. But the piece that our own senior NFL columnist Moe Moton wrote about UNLV's Javin White, of course, Rebel to Raider now. And this is a guy who's got an opportunity to really do something, which is great, and to not only try to make the Raiders and the football team, but also to do something that will again be part of the rebuilding process and the winning process at UNLV. But Q and Chaz, I don't know if you read Mo's piece, but we're going to bring him on now. Joining us from the East Coast is our good friend Moe Moton. And Mo, you wrote about Javin White. We interviewed him on a special podcast this week. What is it for you? You wrote that, hey, this is a guy that Raider fans might want to watch. Talk a little bit about him, why he fits so well into the system, and why you think he's got a good shot at making this team and making a contribution.
Well, as we all know now, the NFL defense is specifically early morning jitters there, but
that's all right, man.
Defenses are changing, and linebackers need to be more athletic. They have to be able to cover. I remember Paul Gunther talked to, I think it was Markel Lee. Markel Lee had shed weight last year and said, you need to be able to cover. We got Hunter Henry, Noah Fant came into the division, Travis Kelce. So a guy like Javin White coming in with his background as a defensive back, being able to cover, I think, is a good pickup for the Raiders. Of course, the Raiders didn't want to pick up too many late round guys because they didn't know how many guys would make the roster. But they took a chance on Javin for a reason, and I think that reason is because just in case you have an injury, something happens to Corey Littleton or Kwiatkowski, you have a guy who can step in and cover the middle of the field, cover tight ends. And I think Javin White, that's where he can carve out his role, similar to a lot of undrafted free agents around the league where they're not starters per se when they come in, but they have a role, they have a set responsibility, and they can fill that role and get some playing time. And I think Javin has an opportunity there for himself in that defense.
Mo, don't you feel that Javin is kind of that guy that almost was built to be a Raider? He just kind of got that Raider swagger to him. He's just that kind of dude that you haven't seen out on the field for the Raiders in quite a while. He seems like he brings that. And if you look at the defense that the Raiders have been putting together, a lot of those guys are starting to have those traits.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, I don't know if you read the piece or not, but he has that rookie mentality that Mike Mayock would like. I'm going to paraphrase him, but along the lines he said he basically didn't celebrate himself being signed as an undrafted free agent. He basically said, I didn't officially make the roster yet. I don't officially make it until I'm on that 53 or 55 man roster. So I think he has a mentality that he's a leader. Yeah, he wants to prove himself. His head coach talked about him as being a leader. As soon as he got to high school, he was saying, well, this guy was saying after practice, he was telling guys where to line up. He was encouraging his teammates, and this is a guy you want in your locker room, basically. And I think that fits into what Mayock looks for into his young talents coming into the league. He wants them to be hungry. He wants them to love football, which are two checkboxes that Javin has. But he also wants them to be young leaders, and I think that's part of the deal of bringing him into that Raiders locker room.
No, yeah, there's no question, and that's what I love about him. He's that kind of guy. He's got that, as you mentioned, that swagger, and he had it not only at UNLV, but he had it as somebody who throughout his career, and he backs it up. He's a player. I've seen a lot of Raider fans who don't know a lot about him saying, well, he's too small to move to linebacker, which we've talked about, and yes, he's got to bulk up. There's no question, but he played safety too, and he's that kind of hybrid guy. But Mo and Q, when we look at this and we look at undrafted free agents, I just want to let people understand how important undrafted free agents are in the NFL. Last year, 2019, 30% of roster players in the NFL were undrafted. Going back to 2017, there were more undrafted free agents who played 40% or more snaps during the season than second and third round draft picks, and so on. Fans downplay this, but I'm telling you, you have to. These are the guys often that you watch. These are the guys that don't get all the headlines. Yes, they're not the star quarterback, and we know how important quarterback is in the NFL. But Q and Mo, when you look at this, this is where you often make your team and make your championship runs, is by finding those guys who fill in the gaps, who play roles, and find ways to excel, even though they aren't the star player.
If you look at it, these guys are coming into the league with the biggest chip on their shoulders. They waited on draft day to hear their names called, and it didn't happen. And, some guys are going to say the right thing and say, well, as long as I get my opportunity, I'm willing to show off my skills. But, they want that special moment. They were deprived of that.
Right.
So they're coming in thinking, all 32 teams passed on me. I got to go and I got to show something. Now, to your point, just look at some of the Raiders playmakers. Corey Littleton, who a lot of people think is one of the Raiders' biggest pickups this offseason, was an undrafted free agent. And look at what he's become. He's a Pro Bowler now, made some money this offseason, going to start. So if you're looking at it and you say, oh, these guys didn't get drafted, I'm not going to pay attention to make the roster, you need to start looking into some of these guys, because for whatever reason, they didn't hear their names called. Maybe they're too small. Maybe they're a cleaner like Javin is. Maybe they had some issues in college with, some flags along the way. But they have the talent to play. And again, if they can just get their opportunity, they can play as well as some of these early round players that the Raiders drafted.
Yeah, no question.
There's no doubt about that.
No,
sorry about that, but I just wanted to co-sign with what he said, because, he mentioned Corey Littleton. We talked about Jalen Richard. He was undrafted. Alec Ingold, he was undrafted. Keyshawn Nixon last year, he was undrafted. Going back to your point, Scott, the majority of a lot of these rosters across the league are late-round guys or undrafted guys.
Yeah, no, not only that, but if you, look at some of the names, and I'm just going to mention three. One Raider, Willie Brown. Maybe people know who that is.
Yeah.
Warren Moon, Kurt Warner. I just picked a couple quarterbacks because they're big names. Those guys were all undrafted. So to me, when you are a football fan, I get it. Not everybody has the time that the three of us get to spend looking and studying and watching football. But even if you're a casual fan, if you look at rosters and you look at some of these guys who were able to make a difference, this is where often you make your team, because, again, especially in today's NFL, guys, where you have a salary cap, you have to find players who are going to play above the grade and not take up a ton of contract and money space, right? So this is important, and this is just my word to Raider Nation out there, is start to get to know these guys, study what they did in college when you have time, and because I'm telling you, this is where often your team is made or broken. And Mo, I think that, when you look at Javin White, he might have to really excel at special teams to make the club and all that. But I like what he's done, and I like his opportunity. I'm biased because I went to UNLV. Yes, I'll self-admit that. But when you look at these players, what for you, Mo? If you're talking to a fan, what's the best way for them to kind of track these guys and get to know them a little bit better?
First thing I would do is just take a look at the roster and listen to what some of the coaches have to say about them. And it's easier as a Google search. And you don't have access to Google, right? So if you do a quick search, a lot of these coaches will tell you what's special about some of these players. And I just talked about Javin White, high school coach, saying, one, he was a leader when he got into high school. This is a teenager leading a football team. So that's a special quality. If you're a leader at any age, that's a special quality. To show that quality at a teenage year, that's special. So you want to play like that in your locker room. The other thing is, if you're a stat watcher, the type of thing is you want to see what a player can do best. And I talked about his coverage. I believe he had double-digit interceptions at UNLV. I believe it was, actually 9. So 1 fewer than 10.
9. Yep.
15 pass rates. So this is a guy who can cover the field if you need him to. And I think he'll eventually either have to roll at safety or linebacker if he can't keep on the weight.
No, absolutely. And I know, Mo, you have some work coming up here. Of course, you can follow Mo at Mo, Moemoton on Twitter. He also writes for Bleacher Report, as well as a couple other sites, Just Blog Baby, and, of course, on silverandblacktoday.com, which he'll have a story on Monday on Josh Jacobs, right? Give people a preview of that one.
Yeah, just basically saying, look, I know a lot of people are saying Lynn Bowden Jr. has been added to the roster. Devontae Book is there. They still have Jalen Richard, who you interviewed. And that means that Josh Jacobs could have a step back here. And I totally disagree with that. I think Mike Mayock talked about Josh Jacobs being involved in the passing game. And I think him being involved in that phase will actually give him a sophomore leap, and he'll have a great Pro Bowl year next year.
Absolutely. Yeah, make sure you check that out on silverandblacktoday.com. Moe Moton, as always, my friend, thank you. Be careful out there, and we'll talk to you real soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, that was Moe Moton. We're going to step aside. When we come back, Q Chaz and I are going to talk about the defensive line of the Raiders, right? They're not getting as much love with all the additions at linebacker, all the defensive back moves the Raiders have made. What about the front line of the Raiders defense? We're going to get into that, as well as I got a quick little rant when we come back as well. Yes, I'm in a ranting mood. Get used to it. You're listening to the Silver and Black Today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Sunday, May 31st.
You're clear. Hey, Mo, you there?
All right, no problem. Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, thanks, man. We appreciate it.
the most in-depth coverage of the Silver and Black. This is Silver and Black Today, live on CBS Sports Radio 1140. Here's your host, Scott Gulbransen.
All right, welcome back to the Silver and Black Today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. I appreciate you guys being here, and we want to get into defense. Now, all offseason, we've talked a lot about it here ourselves. We've talked about the addition of Corey Littleton, Kwiatkowski. We've talked about great draft picks like Amik Robertson and Damon Arnett. All these guys that are building up the defensive backfield and the middle of that defense, which has been awful. Let's face it. Not one sack last year from a defensive back or a linebacker for the Raiders. Staggering number, okay? So they've addressed that. But I think we're forgetting about the defensive line, which made great progress last year when you look at what they were able to do with Max Crosby, of course. Maurice Hurst continued to develop. You have other players there as well. And, guys, when I look at this, I mean, I think the Raiders really sent a strong message how they feel about this defensive front. They feel like they're on to something. They feel like they made a jump last year. They had 32 sacks, complete with all the players on the line. They strengthened that defensive line last year, which had been a weakness. And so that comfort level they've had with people like Max Crosby and even Cullen Furl, who I think, again, people are much too hard on. He didn't perform at the level of a Max Crosby per se, but they think he's going to come around. He's a 3-down edge-sitting defensive end rather than kind of that set, edge rush kind of sack guy, right? So I was trying to figure out the best way to put that. But when you look at this, Q, they like these guys, which is why they didn't spend draft capital to try to get somebody else up front.
Yeah, no, they do. They like what they're seeing early on from these guys. Max Crosby obviously shocked everybody, having 10.5 sacks his rookie year from a fourth-round guy that wasn't even expected to play that much, and all of a sudden took over about halfway through the season and made their second leading sack guy basically non-existent in Benson Mayowa. I mean, he ended up being on the bench, and he ended the season with 7 sacks. So think about that. You put that guy on the bench because Max Crosby just played so well. I think Clee's going to be fine. 4.5 sacks his rookie year. He didn't play every game. He played different positions. You know what I mean? He was in multiple different spots. So I think that once they actually settle him down in one spot and he's healthy, he'll be good to go. But I think the two biggest additions to this defensive line that are really going to shine and that Raider fans are going to get excited about, one is going to be Malik Collins in the middle, the free agent that they brought over from the Cowboys. And the second guy is going to be Rod Marinelli, the defensive line coach. And that's no disrespect to Brenston Buckner, but Rod Marinelli's an old school, been there, done that type guy. And he knows how to get the most out of his players and guys that might not even be as talented as some of the big name guys in the league. He's going to be a guy that's going to be able to push your buttons and get the most. He knows what Malik Collins brings to the table. I'm excited about the way that they're going, the way that they're trending because of those additions, and particularly to Rod Marinelli.
Yeah, I think adding Marinelli, Chaz, to that staff to oversee the development of those young defensive ends in particular is a huge move.
Right. Yeah. No, Q took the words right out of my mouth. Marinelli's he's going to take this group to the next level. And like you said, no disrespect, we love Coach Buckner. We had him on the show, great guy. But Marinelli's he just knows what to do. He knows how to do it. He's been doing it for such a long time. That's definitely the key. But, this whole group, as a whole, this group, so diverse, so many moving parts, solid, hardworking guys, just kind of that mold that the Gruden and Mayock look for, guys that love football, guys that just want to play hard and work hard. And, I'm expecting big things as well. I think it's going to be a great year for these guys.
Absolutely. And, guys, we look at additions on the defensive line. Carl Nassib at 15.5 sacks, 65 tackles, 29 for a loss, and 33 quarterback hits over his last 45 games. And the guy, Q, that I'm really excited about, Malik Collins, of course, he played under Marinelli, which is a great, great mix there. 14.5 sacks, 84 tackles, 20 tackles for a loss, and 40 quarterback hits over 55 games. And I think his ability to create interior pass rush and pressure and really tie up those blockers is going to really help the rest of that unit. And you start to see, Q, all of these pieces, that line and what they have there mixed with the new linebacking core, mixed with the defensive backs and the upgrades they've made there, you're starting to see how all these parts are going to work together and create great opportunity for the Raiders defensively.
Without a doubt. I mean, again, you win games in the trenches. You really do. And the defensive line has a big responsibility. And one part of the team that has been a struggle, I mean, yeah, the edge pressure from Max Crosby was really, really good. But that pressure up the gut, like you mentioned, that interior pressure just wasn't there. Malik Collins could help provide that. I mean, him, Jonathan Hankins, Mo Hurst, P.J. Hall, if he makes the team. I mean, I think there's a lot of competition now at that interior position just because of the addition of Malik Collins and the way that Marinelli's going to push these guys to get every ounce of pressure that they can out of them. I mean, this is going to be a special unit. They've just got to go out there and perform and make it happen. But the ability is there. The talent is there.
Yeah, and Q, when you look at the rest of the guys there, too, because we still have some roster players, some things going on. When you look at guys like Hankins, we talked about, P.J. Hall, Maurice Hurst, I think some of these guys, and even Daniel Ross, who they added for some depth, right, from Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at those guys, the competition, and this is what I've loved during this latest Gruden, I think, stay in with the Raiders, is the fact that they're able to now compete at every position. Even Chaz mentioned upgrading at coach. We loved Coach Buckner, like we said. We really liked the guy. But if you can upgrade from a coach to a coach that's got more experience and a pedigree, if you can upgrade at a position, these guys, P.J. Hall, Maurice Hurst, I like Maurice Hurst's chance, probably the best. I think he can improve there. Mm-hmm. I liked P.J. Hall coming out of college, even though it was small school. I just think, though, that they've been given notice, and camp, no matter what camp looks like this year, guys, it's going to be a knockdown dragout.
It really is. The competition is going to be there. And look, Mike Mayock, he called out P.J. Hall during the combine. You know, he said that with the addition of Marinelli, he's not going to allow a guy like P.J. Hall to be inconsistent. And I think that word is one word that athletes never want to be, and that's that inconsistent guy where you show spurts of being really talented, and then all of a sudden you kind of tail off for a little while. Then all of a sudden have to be, kicked in the backside to get going again. I mean, you've got to be self-motivating. So I think P.J. Hall's on notice. I'm kind of like you with, I think Maurice Hurst is going to have a much better opportunity to make the team and have a bigger impact. But again, competition makes everybody about the team. It makes them that much better. It doesn't matter what walk of life you're from. If you have competition behind you, you're going to perform at a better level.
No doubt about it. The thing is, I just believe that anytime you get better in every position, and I think that's what I've liked about the Raiders offseason. I know they'll say we're biased because we cover the Raiders, whatever it may be. The fact is, I just like it. It's all got to come together, right? You got to do it on the field. And every individual has to perform up to the best of their ability for it all to work together. And as much as I'd love to see the excitement of Raider fans over what they've done and say, we're going to the Super Bowl, we're going to the Super Bowl. Listen, one step at a time. Get in position to make the playoffs. But I think guys, they really are at the cusp of being able to say, okay, we are a legitimate playoff contender. If we play up to our abilities, if the additions all gel together, then we should be in a good spot. And again, no excuses. All right. Well,
yeah, for sure.
Go ahead.
We've all watched sports long enough to know you see the progression. You see teams when they're kind of cresting and, the ebb and flow of a few seasons of rebuilding. And it just seems like the Raiders are on, such a perfect upswing. And that's why it's confusing to me, like, why Vegas and oddsmakers and other, predictors don't have them very high at all. I know obviously we're in the toughest division and moving to a new stadium, pretty tough schedule. But, for me, all indications seem like they're about ready to break out.
Yeah.
The talent is there. You know what I mean? Like, that's the question is not the talent anymore. Now it's all about execution. There was a time that, okay, the team lacked talent and it was just no doubt about it. When they went on the field and the other team went on the field, you could see no doubt about it who was the better team. Now the talent's there. Now they got to go execute.
No doubt about that. The rubber meets the road now, right? And that's the way it is. And we're gonna step aside in a minute. But just, hey, listen. The one thing, too, I don't know if you guys saw this, and I'm just going to take a little aside here. It's another rant from Scott this morning. It doesn't have to do with what's going. It doesn't have to do with what's going on in the country. It has to do with what's going on in Vegas. The Vegas Golden Knights, our hockey team, right? They bought a minor league team from San Antonio. They're moving it to Henderson. They named the team the Silver Knights, and their colors are silver and black.
Yeah.
Right? Now, some people are like, it doesn't compete. Let me tell you, folks, the Raiders in Las Vegas and the Golden Knights, no matter how nice everybody is to each other, there's only so much entertainment dollar, right? I think that the Golden Knights taking the silver, I understand it because it's Nevada, and going silver and black was a little bit of a shot across the bow. And I think, and what I hear conversation, because we talk to a lot of business people and stuff, and take it for what it is. I don't think the Raiders, even though this isn't, they haven't officially said it and they never will, I don't think they're happy about it. And I wouldn't be happy about it either. I think, again, I know we're talking football on the show, and I'm digressing a little bit into hockey here, but I'm telling you, the Golden Knights, I'm a huge fan. My kids are fans. Half my kids' rooms, Golden Knight posters, flags, all that stuff. I'm a fan because I don't have to cover them, so I can be a fan. But the organization, I think, made a big mistake trying to infringe, if you will, not legally, on the Raiders' domain with the silver and black stuff, with the Raiders coming to town. And I don't think it was by accident, by the way. And I don't think if I was in the Raider organization, I would be happy with it. I just wouldn't be. And yes, it's minor league hockey, and this is the NFL, but don't forget it's a competitive business. Sports is a competitive business. Doesn't matter if the NHL's number 4 and the NFL's number 1. I just thought it was a shot across the bow, and I thought it showed a little bit of organizational egotism and the fact that they're trying to and protect their market, which, of course, they were here first. But I don't think – I'd like to hear what people have to say about it. But anyway, we're going to step aside.
I think it's a compliment.
Nah, I know. I've heard people say that, but I don't think so.
I think they're paying homage to the Raiders is what they're doing.
Yeah,
I didn't even care about hockey until the Kings changed their colors to silver and black.
Right, but the Kings did that, and the Raiders were not happy about it back at the. Al Davis was not happy about it back then. Anyway, we're gonna step. We'll talk a little bit more about that too when we come back. But I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. We're going to pay some bills when we come back. The Silver and Black today rolls on. You're listening to CBS Sports Radio 1140.
CBS Sports Radio.
Hey, this is Tim Brown, Hall of Famer. You're listening to Silver and Black today.
All right, nice. Tim Brown bringing us back, and we are here in the closing moments of today's show. And guys, I've been a little off today, not only because I had my rant at the beginning of what's going on in our country, but then my house is flooded on the bottom floor. So it's been crazy. So if I stammered a little bit today, guys, I'm a little distracted. But anyway, we're back talking Raider football. And before the break, I went on a rant. I talked about how I thought the Henderson Silver Knights was a little bit of a shot across the bow from the local NHL team, the Golden Knights, who own the minor league team, at the Raiders, who are coming in new to the market. You know, it's kind of the Raiders moment, if you will. It's been disrupted by this whole COVID-19 stuff. And I think I struck a nerve because our good friend, Tommy White from the local 872, of course, the men and women building the stadium, building the Raiders HQ practice facility, building the rest of the city. I mean, every major project you can think of, his folks are on. Tommy, I hit a little bit of a chord with you. What do you, am I wrong on this, or is this a little bit, in my view, kind of stepping a little bit on the Raiders arriving in Las Vegas?
No, it's definitely stepping on the Raiders. I mean, the silver and black, the color silver and black, that has been the Raiders' colors for years. And, you know, first of all, let me say this. Bill Foley will never match up to the man that Mark Davis is.
Whoa.
Bill Foley is not a community man. Bill Foley's all about the money. Mark Davis is about the community, right? So, you know, here you got a guy that's made a ton of money off the Golden Knights. And listen, I'm a Golden Knights fan. Now that might change as for my organization supporting them for what they are doing with taking the silver and black colors, but you know, this is a way. All this is, from my eyes and from a lot of people's eyes in my organization, this is just a way for Bill Foley and the Foley family to make more money off of the silver and black. They did it in L.A. with the L.A. Kings, right? Silver and black has always been the Raiders' colors, and you know, I think he probably could have had a better choice. And that horse, I don't even know if you want to call that a horse. It kind of looks more like a Muppet, right? Something from a cartoon. But I mean, you know, I don't know. Those two just don't go together. And you know, the silver and black, especially for all the Raider Nation fans, that's going to be our colors. It's always going to be our colors. But I just think it was wrong. I think maybe he should have just reached out to Mark Davis and said, hey, you know, I'm thinking of doing this. But from what I understand, he never even reached out to the Raiders and even had a discussion on it.
How much of it do you think has to do with the fact that the Las Vegas Golden Knights have been there? They are Las Vegas's original team. They went to the Stanley Cup Finals their first year, and now all of a sudden the Raiders are getting all this love for being this team, and they're moving in. They're getting this stadium, and it's all about the Raiders. Do you think some of it could be just a little bit of hey, by the way, we're still here as well?
No, I don't think so. I think, you know, he bought this AHL team. He did it, you know, you got to remember, a lot of Golden Knights fans, you know, they bought tickets. They can't afford tickets anymore because the ticket prices went up so much. So he bought this AHL fan. Tickets are $10. You're probably going to lose a lot of Golden Knights fans going over there, but then their arena only holds 6,000. Our stadium holds 65,000. So if he gets 6,000 fans, more power to him. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go get myself one of those hockey jerseys. I'm going to take that horse off the front, and I'm going to put a Raiders logo on.
Oh man, well, Tommy, again, I thought similarly that I just thought it was very odd that they would do it. It was rumored that they were going to name it Silver Knights, but I thought, you know, there's an opportunity to do that and do something different. The fans, I think Golden Knights fans are great. There's a certain segment of them that the organization can do no wrong. If the Raiders did something that I thought was wrong, I would say that here too. But I think in this case, it's just the timing. The timing is just weird, and I don't think great. So listen, Tommy, I want to thank you for calling in, man. And stadium's right on track. Everything's looking great, right, my man?
Yeah. Listen, we're planning on opening up. We are opening up on time. We're not planning anymore. We will open up on time. We will open up on a scheduled date. The Raiders fans are going to have a fantastic experience. And the best thing, if you could go online right now, you could actually see what your seats look like.
Yeah, that's very cool, the virtual thing.
See where you're sitting from. But you know what? We can't open it. We can't wait till we get the stadium open, and we really look forward to it.
All right. Tommy White from the local 872. Tommy, thanks for calling in and sharing your views with us. We appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thank you.
All right, Tommy White.
Thank
and
you, Tommy.
Chaz and Q, we're up here against the end of the show. Listen, I want to thank you guys as well for being on here, and we'll hopefully we'll have some more football. We're talking maybe about camp getting in June. So they're starting to really work back from this COVID thing and figure out what's going to happen. So we hope to have that pretty soon. Make sure you follow your boy Q. Check out his Locked On Raiders podcast. There's no doubt one of the best in the business. Q, thanks again for joining us. Yep. We'll talk to you next time.
Absolutely. Anytime you need me, you let me know.
All right, man. And Chaz, be careful, brother.
Yeah, you too, man. Watch out downstairs.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. All right, for everybody here at the Silver and Black today, including our guest Moe Moton and Jalen Richard, we appreciate you being with us. Be careful out there, everybody. Make sure, find the things that we share in common, not the things that we find different about one another. Make sure you're good to everybody. Hug your family. Make sure you tell them you love them. And again, may the autumn wind always be at your back. We'll check you out next time.
Clear.